I, along with Area Marketing Officer, Department of Horticulture, Planning and Marketing, Gaندarbal, am right now in Skost, Kashmir, in the Department of Food Sciences and Technology. And here we are to acquaint ourselves with the latest techniques of post-harvest management, scientific tools. We had gone to head of the department, Mr. Dr. Zamir Hussain, and I had a thorough discussion with him, who was kind enough to refer us to Dr. Imtiaz, who is the resource personnel for the subject. Dr. Sab, we welcome you from the Department of Horticulture, Planning and Marketing. Please tell us about the role of the scientific harvesting for fruits.
Yes, basically, Assalamu alaikum. Basically, what we have to develop a strategy for the marketing of the fruit. Basically, there are two things. One is if you have to sell the fruit in the nearby market, and then there is one more thing, that is when you have to sell the fruit in a far off market and you have to keep it for the storage. There are basically different criteria for harvesting the fruit that is to be sold right after harvesting, and the fruit that is to be stored that is to be stored in the CA stores, and we have a different parameters or criteria for harvesting the fruit. See, for example, if we have to sell the fruit right now or within a period of 1 month, that means we have to basically harvest it at a bit what you call as the mature stage of the harvesting. While as if we have to keep it for the storage purpose, there are some other parameters which we have to look after. So basically we have to see what we have to do with the fruit. हमारा fruit जो है कहाँ जाएगा? Is it to be stored in the market? Is it to be stored in the CA store, or is it to go to direct to the market? So हमारे पास we have basically harvesting tools or harvesting kits through which we can basically assess the maturity of the fruit, especially the apple. So there are some parameters which are very important in assessing the maturity of the fruit. There are parameters like what you call as the days from full bloom. So that is what we do. We basically count the 80% when the fruit has 80% bloom, and we count the days right from that day till we get the fruit. We can actually harvest the fruit. Usually it varies from the variety to variety, and it again varies from the area to area. Say for example, if we have a sober belt, there will be a slight variation in 2 to 3 days, or right about 5 days or 10 days variation of the same variety if we harvest the same fruit in the Shipian belt or the Rajpura belt. So there is a temperature variation. Now we have basically few parameters. One of the parameters is we measure the pressure of the fruit. Then there is one more parameter, that is we measure the total soluble solid, or we call that as the soluble solid content of the fruit. And then there is very important parameter, we call that as the starch iodine rating of the fruit. Say for example, if we have to store the fruit for a controlled atmospheric storage, it is to be harvested at a starch rating of 2.5 to 3. If we harvest it at a higher starch rating, it cannot store well. The reason for that, when the starch rating of the fruit is between 2.5 to 3, basically what there is, this basically apple is a climatic fruit. So once the climatism starts in, there is a surge in the respiration rate. Once there is a surge in respiration rate, that means it basically breaks down the starch into the sugars, as a result of which there is a ripening process starts. Once there is a ripening process, once the ripening process starts, what actually happens with the fruit, its quality starts deteriorating. So you cannot store it for a longer period. Our strategy, if we have to store it for a long period of time, our strategy should be, we should not allow it to enter the respiratory climatism. So that is what we have to start, where we have to stop it. So the best way to do it is to store what I would say, harvest it at a starch rating of 2.5 to 3. It's between. So we have basically various parameters. The parameters we have various instruments through which we can basically calculate these parameters, these harvesting indices. We call them as the maturity indices.
डॉक्टर साहब, जैसे आपने बोला ये स्टार्च रेटिंग, as a grower, he doesn't know how to calculate the starch rating. I think जो आप ये tools बोल रहे हैं, do these tools help us to come up with this starch rating? This starch rating इसकी क्या है? Are these tools meant for that?
Yes, yes. Basically, we have just small number of tools. Not a big. It's not a big deal to do. You can do it at your own level. You can do it at a farm level, and you can do it at your officers level. Basically, we have two tools and one solution we basically make.
Okay.
So I'll show you the tools right now.
Right.
So this is one of the tools. We call this as the penetrometer. Okay.
Penetrometer.
This basically measures the pressure within the fruit.
Pressure.
I'll show you how to do it basically.
Right.
So this is basically the probe of the penetrometer. This one. This is changeable probe. This is basically changeable probe. Okay. So for apple and other fruits, apple usually we have the 11 mm probe, and for other fruits, stone fruits, we have small probes.
Okay.
So this is, I'll show you later on how to do it.
Okay.
Then there is one more equipment that we call that as the refractometer. This is basically the refractometer. This basically measures the soluble solid content or the total soluble sugars in the fruit.
Okay.
See, basically what actually happens, every variety, this soluble solid content is specific of the variety. Say for example, we have varieties like Ambri, the TSS is on the higher side. Whereas we have other varieties like the Red Delicious or the Color Delicious, the TSS is on the lower side. It's around about 10 to 11 to 12. So using these instruments along with this is what we call as the starch iodine solution. So using these three tools, we can basically monitor, we can basically predict the harvesting date, and that harvesting date can be predicted very accurately depending upon the where we have to store the fruit in the CA store, or we have to rightly market the fruit.
So what you mean to say is that with these tools, we will be able to ascertain the right date where we can pick the fruit or we can harvest the fruit. These tools help us in determining that period.
Yes, definitely. These are the basic tools, and these basically help us determining the maturity of the fruit. This basically technology is followed all over the world. While as if you go to the European countries, they have some other highly sophisticated equipments which are not possible here. Looking at all the facilities, but these are the basic tools, three basic tools which can be used for the measuring predicting the maturity of the fruit.
Is it different? I mean, are the maturity period different for different varieties of, say, one fruit? Will take apple. There are so many varieties. The commercial varieties are like the Delicious is there, the Maharaji is there, and the American is there. Are the periods different for different varieties?
Yes. This maturity basically depends on the type of variety we have. See, for example, if we look at the Maharaji, that's the late harvesting variety. If you look at the Amri, again, that's a late harvesting variety. And then if we look at the Red Delicious, Color Delicious, they are the mid harvesting varieties. Then there are what you call as the Hazrat Bali, Saharanpuri, they are the early maturing varieties. So it varies from the variety to variety. It's all documented.
It's all documented. Okay. Can you please show us now? Let's go for the demonstration of it, or you want to add something to it?
Yeah, I think we'll go for the directly demonstration of it. See, for example, these fruits, I have got these 4 apples right here.
Okay.
So I'll show you how to basically measure this. We'll start with the pressure testing. And pressure testing is basically done with this equipment that's called the penetrometer. And then we have a inbuilt, this is what we call as the peeler. This is provided with this penetrometer. So here what we do, we basically take the fruit. So we basically take the fruit and peel it here, and then the opposite end to this.